For me now, moving to Edmonton will be like a life saving for me in terms of like my work hour will reduce, so I can have time with the family, see how the kids are doing. Toronto don't allow you that, except you just want to be here, work, use all your earnings every month to pay your rent and take care of your family. No savings, you can hardly save. If you speak with 10 people, they will tell you the same thing I'm telling you in terms of living here in Toronto, right?
All right, I'm Trevor Tardif with Yeg Pro Realty, and we're here for the second episode of the Home Buyer's Journey. And this time I'm with Toye Ibikunle, who lives out in Toronto, Ontario, and he's considering or in the process of actually making a move to Edmonton. So I wanted to talk to Toye today about how he's made that decision, in case that's helpful for other people that are also considering moving from Toronto to Edmonton. Hey, Toye, how's it going?
I'm good. And you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining me on the call today.
It's okay. That's okay. Um,
Awesome. Well, Toy, I wanted to interview you about this because you're one of the first people recently that I've been talking to that's really seriously considering making the move from Toronto to Edmonton. So I wanted to ask you some questions and learn a little bit about how you came to that decision. So maybe you could fill me in on your background a little bit. Like you currently live in Ontario and
Yeah.
Toronto, and then we could
Yeah.
kind of go from there.
Okay. So presently I live in Ontario, which I've been living for 6 years now.
Hmm.
So and I presently work as a personal support worker. I've been doing that for 5 years now. So and also I'm in college and majoring in physiotherapy assistant and occupational therapy assistant as a whole. So
Hmm.
some people call it a rehabilitation assistant. So I'm gonna be through by March. Then I've been like trying to, you know, thinking of buying a house for like 2 years now. So,
Hmm.
and I've been going around Toronto, like Ontario as a whole. So trying to check where it's kind of like cheaper for me. But I've tried virtually everywhere. So the prices are just way out of my reach, right?
Hmm.
So then at a certain time, I concluded like going to London, Ontario. So which we did some like research. So we were seeing houses for like 650, kind of like townhouse, like a row townhouse, built
Hmm.
like 1995, 98, way back for 650, 650,000, right? So
Yeah, not chump change, hey?
that then when you look at for the year the house was built, then the amount you're going to be paying monthly, then your deposit also, it kind of like puts me off because I'm buying something way old, right, for a lot of money, right? So
Hmm.
trying to buy something within like 5 years, built like 5 years or 3 years, so you'll be having in around like a $1 million, right? So I'm
Hmm.
being a first time home buyer in Canada. I'm not going to start that way, right? I'm not gonna try and get like a mortgage, then put myself in like trouble in terms of paying my mortgage. Then you have to work your ass out. So then in
Hmm.
between, I was kind of like not happy because I've been paying rent for over 5 years now.
Hmm.
So then I started looking around. So with the help of a friend that got the information about Alberta, right? So when she got the
About
information
what?
about her,
About
like,
buying a house in
yeah,
Toronto or
no, buying a house in Alberta, right?
in Alberta? Okay.
Yeah. So when I got the information, I was like a little kind of like, okay, I'm gonna look into it. Then I started doing my kind of research, right? Then I contacted
Hmm.
like a friend, like a family friend that is in Alberta already, Calgary, right? So
Hmm.
we got talking. So he was giving me the price range, how things is in Calgary. Then in between, as we're talking, I got hold of another friend in the
Hmm.
US. So when I told him about what my plan is moving from Ontario to Alberta, then he'll be like, "Oh, he has a friend in Edmonton already that I went to visit
Oh
the
yeah.
yeah, that I went to visit the guy last year. That oh, he can connect me with the guy, then maybe I can just like okay, have double option, right? Or Calgary
Mm-hmm.
or Edmonton, right? So when I spoke, then I contacted the guy in Edmonton. We spoke. Then I was asking him differences between Calgary and Edmonton. So he was giving me the kind of vibes I needed, right, to make my decision, right? So I noticed the
Mm-hmm.
vibe he gave was much more kind of like straightforward in terms of Edmonton, right? Then my friend,
Interesting.
yeah, the family friend in Calgary did some kind of like gave some kind of like insight. But when I weighed the options I had, so I kind of prefer 4 going to 5 year old. Then I got like 8 year old going to 9. So Edmonton is kind of like more family, kind of like younger family oriented, in terms of like getting an affordable house, being able to get it kind of like the job I do. Then I checked through the jobs.
Mm.
There was so much of the kind of job I could do, like a personal support worker, then maybe like the rehabilitation assistant, so which is called physiotherapy, physio assistant in
Mm-hmm.
Alberta. So then I checked about the amenities in terms of for kids, the school. Then when I weighed my option, for me as a person, Edmonton was just like my kind of place, that I can like, grow, you know. Then in terms of income,
Mm.
you're not
Okay.
working because presently now you work too hard, then you still have to kind of like manage your salary in terms of what you spend, you know. So imagine when I work, yeah. So imagine if I work this much in Edmonton,
So
then
it's a
I'll
lot
have a
tighter
lot of
budget.
savings, right? Even after paying my mortgage, I will have a lot of savings. Because presently, before I went
Mm-hmm.
back to college, my take home every month is like 4,600, right? So I noticed when you pay the rent, you pay the
Mm-hmm.
car park, you pay this, you're running low like over like close to 3,000 is gone, you know? So
Yeah,
you're
there's it's hard to have much left over. So
getting,
so it sounds like there's a number of reasons that kind of got you to first look at Alberta. Almost sounds like it was happenstance. Just you knew somebody.
yeah,
They started talking to you about what you could get for different prices, which I'm sure that probably
yeah,
perked your ear up a little bit.
that's the number.
Then you started comparing Edmonton to Calgary, and overall ended up feeling like Edmonton was a better spot for you
Yeah,
because you felt like it was more family oriented. There was a lot of good job
yeah.
opportunities, and you could just see it putting yourself in a much better financial situation versus staying in Toronto, where most of your income ends up just going to housing expenses just to survive.
That's the key point. And another thing, you're paying, before you get your salary, right? You're paying
Mm-hmm.
provincial tax, you're paying the federal tax. Then after you get your salary, you're paying 13% of your money to everything you buy. You're paying additional 13%, right? So, and
Mm-hmm.
when you go to Alberta, there's no provincial tax on your salary, right? Then you pay 5% of buying anything you're buying. So it gives you,
Yeah, just the GST.
yeah. So as an household, you can save up to like $800, compared to when you're in Toronto, right? Or Ontario as general, right?
So
So
you're just to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. You're saying I think you talked to me about this before that
yeah,
you kind of did the math, and if you
yeah,
had the same job, you'd save $800 a month
that's it.
just from being in
In
Alberta
Alberta,
versus in
yeah,
Ontario.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's a pretty big incentive.
very, very.
If you're looking at buying or selling a home in the next year, it's important to know what's going on in the Edmonton housing market. So, what I've done is I've created a new Facebook group where I will provide updates on a weekly basis on what I see happening in the Edmonton real estate market, as well as access to PDF reports each month that show you exactly what's been happening in the market over the last month, and links to my latest YouTube videos where I go through an in-depth market analysis. Also going to be covering a lot of other stuff in that group. It's free to join the group. All you have to do is go to edmontonhousingmarket.ca, put in your email address, and I'll send you an invitation to join the group. Again, that's edmontonhousingmarket.ca, and then that way you can stay up to date on everything that's going on in the Edmonton real estate market. Now, let's talk about some of the challenges that you've had with this. Obviously, moving from one province practically to the other side of the country is a big deal.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you and your wife ran into when trying to make this decision, if it made sense to, uproot your family and move and start over somewhere else?
Yeah. So the first thing every other thing was in terms of like our planning, right? So now the only thing we're going to kind of move physically from here to Alberta is the car. So every
The
other
car?
thing,
Okay.
yeah, some of the stuff are gonna go like give out, then some will be sold, the ones we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sell it, right? So apart from that, I feel there's there's no much challenge in terms of moving, right? Because we are moving for a much more important purpose, right? So imagine right here, I'm paying rent. I've been paying rent for 5 years. I've paid over $88,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? For my 5 years rent, right?
88,000.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a rent, right? Then I'm going to where I'm going to buy a house as an affordable price. Then I'll start paying towards the house, right? So it's like I'm building wealth for my kids, like, so it's what we're going to benefit is
Mm-hmm.
way, way, way above what we're going to live over, like, live in Toronto, right? So because I'm living to kind of like more stable life, not to worry about rent, increment, with the way things are so inflation is everywhere now, we'll still get
Mm-hmm.
rent increase every year. So now
And they have rental controls in Ontario, don't they?
they do on
Like they
they do on
like it can only go up a certain percent
yeah,
or something.
yeah, but it's most of it is on the paper, right? They know how to do all this stuff. Like you can't challenge a multinational business like a big company that owns high rises everywhere, oh, because they add additional $35 to your rent, I'm not gonna go
So you find that they like the
you
the
understand?
rental companies find ways around
You
these
know, they
regulations
know how
to
to,
to to
yeah.
ding you.
So imagine if I'm going to get a lawyer to challenge the $35 increment, you know how much I'm going to pay to the lawyer to challenge the $35, So it doesn't make any sense, So they have a way of,
Yeah.
going over the laws, So, but if you're in your house, right? Any amount you spend on your property is like you're just saving the money, right? Towards like your
Mm-hmm.
equity goes up, you have wealth for the kids in future in case anything wants to come up, or you decide like, okay, we've paid so much on this house. Oh, maybe we move to a bigger house now since we've used to Edmonton. So let's go for something way above 500. We can accommodate that now. So it gives you like a solid ground to, further.
For future
Yeah.
advancement, because now at the very least you've paid down your mortgage
Yeah.
sum and built up some equity
Yeah.
that way versus just having it all go to
So a
rental
rent.
payments.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've done some of the math based on what you were planning on buying in
Yeah.
the Edmonton area.
Yeah.
How does what you're projecting your monthly expenses to be for housing in Edmonton compare to what you're currently paying just in rent right now?
So the rent we pay now, everything is 1,600, right? So
1,600, okay,
1,600 for a
and that's for an apartment, right?
room and parlor, not two rooms, a room and a parlor.
It's like a room and like one
One
bedroom plus a
bedroom.
den. Is
Yeah.
that what you mean?
No, not then, just one bedroom and a living room.
Okay, so a one bedroom
Yeah.
apartment.
So we're paying 1,600
Okay.
for that. Then you still have to
Mm-hmm.
pay your car park, you know, $100.
For car parking, $100. Okay,
So
1,700.
not well, there's hydro, there's internet, Wi-Fi, your phone bill, not feeding, So
Yeah.
it's like when I,
So you have to still pay electricity
yeah,
and maybe the only thing you're not paying is like water and sewer.
yeah.
Like that might be included from the
So,
apartment.
but if I get
Yeah.
to Edmonton now and I buy a house and I pay like 2,000 monthly or 2,100 monthly for my mortgage, right? I'm good. I won't bother
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm just wasting this money. There's no return. So even if I pay 2,200, 2,200, it's like I'm paying something down. It's like, oh, I have to pay this money down. Then the money stays where I will send it to, right? It's like equity in your name. So if anything comes up, I want to sell the house, they appreciate. Then when you sell, you can buy something. You have something like a base, you know, to pick from.
And do you find that that's worth it, even though maybe Edmonton might not appreciate at the same rate as the Toronto
Yeah,
market?
but the funniest thing about this particular is like you're buying a base for yourself and your family, right? So I'm not looking to,
A
oh,
home base,
yeah,
yeah.
in the 10 years and in 10 years time I'm going to sell, or maybe it will go from 350, then it will go to 600. No, I just want a comfortable kind of like, this is my permanent address. Nobody is going to tell me, oh, you have to increase your rent. You do, in 5 years, I know what I'm going to pay before you know.
Yeah.
So it gives this kind of like, you know, balance. So I know how much I'm going to work. Then I know I'm not going to overwork myself, right? Because yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like it's really you're really looking for an improvement in your quality of
thank
life.
you. Now, presently, before I went back to college, I work 12 hours every day for Monday to Friday, 12 hours.
Oh wow.
So imagine I don't have any weekdays activity with my kids. So I start 12 and 8 a.m. in the morning, then I finish 8 p.m. in the night, Monday to Friday. So before college, I don't work on Saturday, right? So when I do that Monday to Friday, then Saturday, I'm so tired. I have to sleep all till later in the day. Then I have few hours, to just play with the kids, see how they are doing, ask about school. So, which is to me is not normal way of living life with younger kids like that.
It's not
So,
enough.
so then when I started college, it became much more kind of like difficult because I had to go to school and work at the same time. So then my working hour changed Monday to Friday. I start like 2 o'clock, then I finish like 8 p.m. So I do as much as I can Monday to Friday. Then on Saturday, I will start from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So just for me to be able to pay everything we need to be paid on, right? Then still be able to save towards what I'm planning to do. So I work a lot of hours here in Toronto or Ontario as general because cost of living, cost of paying rent, even before inflation, right? Then inflation now makes it much more difficult,
Yeah, because everything gets a little bit more
more
expensive, whether it's
expensive.
the
So,
food or the travel or
yeah.
everything.
So me now moving to Edmonton will be like a life saving for me in terms of like my work hour will reduce, you know. I don't have to work like that longer hour. So even if I'm doing 12 hours 2 days, rest for 2 days off, then do another 12 hours in other 2 days. In a week, I can work like 12 hours 4 days, not having to work for like 5 to 6 days, 12 hours, right? Then I can have
And then you have 4 days with your family,
yeah,
right?
so I can have time with the family, see how the kids are doing. So sometimes when you say, "Oh, don't worry, today I'm not going to work early. I'm going to drop you guys at the school bus," then they will be so happy that, oh, you're taking them downstairs for the school bus. Like you can see it in them, the way excited they are, like having you to take them to the school bus. So Toronto don't allow you that, except you just want to be here, work, use all your earnings every month to pay your rent and take care of your family. No savings. You can hardly save. If you bring, if you speak with 10 people, they will tell you the same thing I'm telling you in terms of living here in Toronto, right?
Well, and I'm sure I will talk to more people after this, but it really helps put things in perspective. Obviously, everybody's got their challenges, and I've lived in Edmonton all my life. Obviously, I can see what things cost over there
Yeah.
compared to here, and it's easy to imagine how much more difficult it would be. But people complain here too about those things. But I do think if they realized it could actually be so much more difficult in some other cities, and the fact that you're calling it a lifesaver to move to Alberta,
Um,
that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of it that way, but based on everything that you're telling me, the time with your kids, that's time that you'll never get back, right?
you,
So,
now you understand. Not the life
yeah.
saving is not in terms of like the monetary aspect of it, right? But like, having that fulfillment, like, oh, I don't have to work myself out, like work out the whole day, like, oh, I have to be at work. Imagine finding it difficult to take a sick day off.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, I don't want to get sick. It's going to affect my income. If you are not going to be on your sick leave, so you getting sick has to be like something that is related to your job so that you can use your sick leave. Like, so like,
Because it's just too tight otherwise, right? You're like, I know I need the pay from this day. I can't take the day off.
so that's how
It's too
bad it
tight.
is, right? So
Hmm.
imagine when I move to somewhere that like, okay, if I work just the regular 8 hours and I work 5 days a week. So imagine I get a job, then I start 8 to 4 p.m., Monday to Friday.
Hmm.
So when I get home, like, let's say I get home 5 o'clock, I have like
Yeah.
a lot of 3 hours before the kids go to bed to spend with them. Then, in terms
Hmm.
of my own mental health, I'm not in a hurry for anything. I'm stable, like, oh, I know that when I
Hmm.
make like 4,300, 4,400, right? Here in Edmonton. Oh, my mortgage is like 2,200, right? So I
Hmm.
have like over 2,200 left, right? So
Yeah.
if I pay this, pay that, I have like 1,000 to save for nothing. Like, after the month, then I have like 1,000 just sitting, you know. Then I'm like, okay, put this in the savings. So if I live that kind of
Hmm.
life, if I have way of getting that kind of life, I won't be here in Toronto like, oh, I have to live in Toronto. It's just way, it's so just people that are here can, if you speak to more people, then you understand my expression moving to Edmonton.
Oh yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And then we haven't even talked about how you're talking about moving from a one bedroom apartment to an
The
actual
house,
detached
you know.
house, right? Let's talk about that. So what excites you about that, moving from an apartment to getting your own actual home, probably a detached home,
Uh-huh.
3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, plus a basement,
Yeah,
maybe a garage.
yeah. So it's it's kind of like, it's like what you see people do, like, maybe around my area there's some houses, right? Then you see people
Hmm.
drive out of their house. Sometimes you're going to work. Then I start imagining, oh, they bought the house like years back, right? Maybe their parent bought the house. Like, then you're looking at yourself that, oh, I'm in a situation whereby if it's not too expensive for me, by now I should be in my own house. Same way.
Hmm.
But now you have the opportunity to live that kind of life. So sometimes when I speak with my children, I'm like, oh, you guys will stay in your room, then I'm in my room. So if you come bugging me in my room, then I'll go to the basement. Like, you have this freedom of like, you can be up in the upper level, go down, like freedom, like,
Yeah. If you get sick of me, you can get
you
away,
understand
right?
what I mean? So it's kind of
Yeah.
fulfilling, and you like wake up on the bed, then you look around the house, you're like, oh, good. Nobody is coming to tell me, oh, we want to increase the rent, we want to send you out of the house. Like, it's your permanent address, right? So
Hmm.
once I change all my ID, my banking address to this address, it stays like that for God knows when. So those
Hmm.
kind of
Yeah.
fulfill,
So also just not even having to move again,
you know,
unless you wanted to.
yeah. So those kind of like, it's within that that feeling is comes within you, like it just gives you that upliftment, like, oh, thank God, yeah, was moving a step further, not static in one place, having to, okay, imagine what I'm telling you about the room now.
Hmm.
When the kids are when I come back from work, I have to come in quietly. because already they're sleeping.
Yeah.
So I can't just come in like, oh, then sometimes I can't even turn on the TV in the living room because they are sleeping in the room. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
just, relax myself for like an hour after eating my dinner so that I get it pushed down before I go to bed. So,
Yeah, you gotta unwind in
you
silence,
know,
not to
so,
disturb anybody else. Yeah.
and I'm a kind of like news person. I love to watch the news a lot. So I can't do anything when I come back because I need to keep it quiet for them. So imagine when I live in my own house with detached different rooms, they are up there sleeping. So I might not even be in the first level of the apartment, then I'll just go to the basement. So no
Mm-hmm.
matter how much noise you're making, it's not going to affect people sleeping in the upper level. So that freedom
Mm-hmm.
of like, enjoying yourself generally, like, you get to a stage when you grow as a family, you need space, like enough space. The kids are growing older, they need their own room. So those things
Mm-hmm.
is like a dream.
Oh yeah.
It's like a dream.
Yeah, and I could see how you guys would be a lot more comfortable moving for like because there's four person family moving
Yeah,
from a one bedroom
yeah,
apartment to an actual detached
yeah,
house would give you so much more breathing room to have your own space.
yeah. So
Yeah, that'd be a big improvement, I think, in the quality of life that you guys would have and just comfort. And I can tell how much you're just really looking forward to that. And I can appreciate you getting into the kind of the nitty gritty day to day details about that.
yeah,
That obviously when you're living that way, it's right in your face all the time, and I could just see how that would feel like a dream almost, moving into
yeah,
a situation where you got more space like that.
that's it.
That's awesome. So let's move into talking about what's it been like researching Edmonton, and like so you came to this conclusion that you wanted to move to Edmonton,
Yeah.
but you're still all the way in Toronto. So how do you go about, or how does someone else go about actually getting educated on the Edmonton market and learning about areas, and how do you navigate that when you're so far away?
Okay, so when I got all the informations about Calgary and Edmonton, okay, the first information I got was about Alberta, right? As a province, Alberta, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I got all the informations about Alberta, I went online to read about Alberta as a general in terms of weather, average income, housing prices, schooling
Mm-hmm.
for the kids. So then they are kind of like healthcare coverage, basic stuff about living, right? So when I got all the
Mm-hmm.
information together, then that's my first turn on for Alberta, right? Like, oh wow. So then I went online to watch
Mm-hmm.
videos on YouTube about like the pros and cons in Alberta as a general. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the weather is cold for a certain time of the year. Then in Calgary, there's this Chinook, like, yeah,
Chinooks, yeah,
like it's cold, but it's warm. So
get a little hot air,
I
yeah.
was checking everything. Then I'm like, everywhere is cold in Canada. Come on, I can't. Yeah, I can't be. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't be in Canada for like going 6 years now, and you're still talking to me about cold.
yeah, you're like, you know what? No matter what, I ain't gonna completely escape the
Yeah,
cold.
when we're cold, we're cold. When we are so warm, it's so warm. So we navigate
Yeah.
everything together. When it's spring, we enjoy it. So why? So I did all the pros and cons. Then I'm like, oh, the cons are not problem for me. you know. So then
Mm-hmm.
I made my decision that okay, is Alberta or nowhere. Then I stopped looking at London, Kingston, Ontario. I just decided like, okay, this is it. Then after speaking with someone from Calgary and Edmonton, then I went back online. Then I started like, okay, if you're buying a house, how do you go about it? How can it be faster for you to get it before going over there? Then I started
Mm-hmm.
checking the YouTubes. Then I came across your YouTube that it's so much more interesting to me because it was details. Then I started watching all your videos, how to get it, things you need to do. So houses that are selling, all the basic information I need about like buying while I'm here, I got it on your channel,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was easy for
Mm.
me. So when I got that, then I contacted you like, oh, I would like to have an appointment with you. Then we got talking. Then that's how we start this now, right? So you made it,
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't too long
yeah,
ago.
you made it much more like interesting for me. So it was easy for me to pre-plan myself for coming over in March after my college. So without that, I'm still in the middle of like, oh, maybe when I come over, then I'll start looking for how to do it. But with speaking with you, sharing more light with you, put me in a like kind of like straightforward way of like going about it even before I come over, right? Because I've with all the information
Mm-hmm.
I
Took a
got,
lot of the
yeah.
guesswork out of it.
So with all the information I've got with you, all the things I've watched in your channel, gave me that kind of like edge over like stressing unnecessarily, right? So all I have to do is like
Mm-hmm.
come in person, then the houses we pen down, then go do like inspection, check how it is, if it's okay, if this is good, the area and everything, right? So then with the help of the
Mm-hmm.
mortgage broker,
Yeah, so you'll be ready. You'll be ready to hit the ground
uh,
running when you get
yeah,
here in March.
yeah,
You already kind of know what to
what to
expect.
do, yeah,
We've got you set
yeah,
up so you can see homes that kind of fit
yeah,
your
yeah.
criteria.
So it really
We also
helped.
connected you with a broker, a
Yeah.
mortgage broker.
So I was able to speak with the brokers. He gave me all the steps, the 3 steps. So what I need to do for
Mm-hmm.
the first step, right? So then he said like maybe around January, February, I can start like trying to get an employee over there, like get a job ready for me. So all the steps I need to take is already
Mm-hmm.
play. I'm just waiting for the time to set it in motion, right? So it's
Yeah.
been so helpful. It took out the pressure of like where to start from. It took it away, like, because as I'm sitting here now,
Mm-hmm.
I know what I want to do by February. I know what I'm going to do by March towards the goal of getting the house, moving the family. So it's been
Mm-hmm.
so helpful.
That's awesome. And so let's talk a little bit more about that financing piece because it sounds like that unlocked part of the strategy for you on what the actual steps
Yeah,
are. And obviously, everyone's situation is going to be a little bit
yeah,
different, but because of your situation, after you talked with the mortgage broker, I'm sure you discovered some things about what order you had to do things in and what you would need to do, what options you
yeah,
had, what options you didn't have, and that would have made it so much more clear for when you do get
yeah.
here. So fill me in on what you're comfortable sharing
Okay,
about that.
so the first option was like because I'm moving from province to another province, right? So my work
Mm-hmm.
record presently is okay for me to get a mortgage pre-approval, right? But because I'm
Mm-hmm.
moving to another province, so they will need something to like notify the mortgage lenders to like, okay, this person is moving over here, so you already got an appointment, an employment offer already. So it gives that comfort to the lenders, like, okay, this person won't have difficulty paying the mortgage once they get the house, right? Which
So you learned that you do need to get an employment offer here
so just
in order to get
even
financing. Is that correct?
yeah, even if the employment is post dated, like okay, your resumption date is August 1st, right? At least you got it already. Okay, you are moving to Alberta finally in July, then your start time is August 1st. So that the
Mm-hmm.
lenders will be like, okay, good, no, no, no problem. It's gonna start job immediately. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So the broker told you
Yeah,
that even that type of situation you could potentially even buy before you start your new
yeah.
job as long as you've got the proof that you've got
Starting
the
the job.
offer
Yeah,
and it's good to
yeah,
go kind of
yeah.
thing.
Then
That must have relieved some stress for
yeah,
you.
because I was thinking about so many things. Maybe when I come, I'm gonna rent for like 2 months just myself, start working, then I use it. But at the end of the day, if you start like that, the jobs, the record I have here in Ontario will go to waste. Like the brokers won't look at that. They will only
Mm-hmm.
look at when you got there. Oh, you've been there for 2 months, so you don't meet the criteria to be, giving the loan, right? So, but because Yeah.
Interesting.
So I
Okay.
don't have to leave what I'm doing here presently until I totally fix everything over there, right? Then I submit a letter. They know that, oh, you got a job waiting for you in August, so they won't have problem with that. Then the second,
Wow. So it really smooths over the whole
yeah,
thing. But yeah, keep
yeah.
going.
Then the second side is like, oh, when you're dropping 20% off the of what you're buying, right? Then you don't need that. So let's assume you're buying a house of 350,000 now, right? Then you have your 70,000 as your
Hmm.
20%. Then the mortgage lender won't look at maybe you get a job when you get there. So for 20% you don't need that, but for 10% you need that.
Oh, okay. So you're just saying that if you would have had 20% down, for example, that you could have bought it as either a second home or an investment property and just used your current income. Is that what you're
Yeah, no,
saying?
no, no. You use your current income in the province you are, then you pay the 20%. So the mortgage lender don't care whether you got a job there or not because you pay 20% of the money you want to
Yeah,
lend.
because it's a
Yeah,
conventional mortgage
yeah.
instead of a high ratio one.
Then
Okay.
the
Yeah.
third one is about like, oh, maybe you have like a family over there that's already in Edmonton. So they can now use it as like, oh, a rental or second home, something like that. So if you have somebody like that, you
Okay.
just use the okay second home.
Okay, which kind of it falls into a different program if you've got a situation that's, I guess, almost believable to the bank. It sounds like if it's believable to the bank that you actually have reason to have a second home here, then you could use it as a second home. I'm not just a character on YouTube. I also play a realtor in real life. I'm an agent with Yeg Pro Realty here in Edmonton. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Edmonton area, including acreages outside of Edmonton, I encourage you to give me a call at 780-819-5508, or you can book a time on my calendar at booktrevornow.com. All you have to do is select a time on my calendar and I will call you for a free consultation. There's absolutely no pressure. I just want to connect with you, find out how I can help you, and if you end up wanting to work with me in the future, whether that's right away, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, that's totally fine. I just want to help you however I can. So go to booktrevornow.com, select a time on my calendar, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you. So, Toy, what would you say to someone that, like you, has been looking at the cost of living and everything, and they're considering moving from Toronto to Edmonton, and maybe for some other various reasons, and they're sitting on the fence? What would you have to say to help them along in this process?
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to advise is like they should do their kind of like calculation, right? Do your calculation, do some research about moving, right? Then when you get all the informations together, then make a good decision in terms of like be ready for change, right? So if I'm changing for better, right? In terms of
Mm-hmm.
like my work, level of working, the kind of life I want my kids to, grow up with, like that freedom of like them expressing themselves, then feeling much more comfortable, right? So if you look at all those benefits, so you should be ready for change, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you can't be like feeling uncomfortable and not ready to change the way you live, the way you feel. So make sure you do your homework, read through everything about Alberta as a whole, then go in when you got all the information you need, then decide on whether you're moving this way or this way, right? But when I look around in terms of like housing prices and like, not way out of the market is moderate, reasonable, then Edmonton is the right choice, right? Especially for first time home buyers, right? It's very, very
Mm-hmm.
important to start in something you can, afford. Then as you're paying your mortgage, then you still have your savings, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton is just way perfect. So then if some people are talking about like cold weather, come on. Everywhere in Canada is cold. So there's when it's cold, it's cold. When it's warm, it's warm. When it's raining, right? So
So you don't buy that objection. It's too cold. It's too cold in
no,
Edmonton. I can't do it.
no, because you know why we're not going outside like not dressing properly, right?
Yeah.
We dress for every weather here. If it's too cold, I'm gonna wear the bigger jacket, the inner one, the top one, big gloves. We have the dresses to wear for each weather. So I don't
Hmm.
That I notice a lot of people don't like change. You know, they don't want to change.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with it.
Yeah, but when you're changing for the better, with all the information you have as an individual, like, oh, I'll live more comfortable and more easier way of life. If I move, then the kids will have it more kind of like comforting for them, and it's a very good place to raise a younger family. Then it's a right choice. You won't mind all the moving stress, right? So,
Hmm.
because already I have a plan on our moving, so I can share a little bit of it. So maybe people will
Sure.
learn from it. So when we close the house, then I'm going to stay over there to furnish the house, right? The family is still here in Toronto. I'm going to get the beds, the stuff we need in the house,
I'm gonna start preparing it for them.
make sure everything's comfortable, get the kids' bed, get everything we need. Because we're just virtually going to get furniture. That's the major thing. Because every other thing is in the house already. So you get the furniture.
Hmm.
Some home has the automatic blind, so you don't need to get a curtain depending on the house, right? So by the time you finish all that, the family is just moving a little they can in their bags, Then
Hmm.
when they move over there, then you can go like, okay, buying extra stuff, you know, the
Yeah,
stuff
bring as little.
as little as
Only take the
the
necessities. That way, you're
necessity,
not shipping so much stuff
So
across the
the only
country.
thing we're gonna move from here to Edmonton is a car, and we're just gonna get the shipping companies to bring the car on the big trucks, right? Then we'll put as little as we
Hmm.
can in the car. Then they bring it over, right? So
Rather than hauling most of your furniture
you
over here as
understand.
well, you
So
found that it just wasn't worth the cost and the hassle.
some of the furniture we put it on marketplace. If you're able to sell some, you sell. Then some you don't, you give it to neighbors or people around So because you're
Yeah.
moving to a much more kind of like comforting, like comfortable life, So you can't compare living in a kind of like
Hmm.
compact kind of apartment to, a whole house. That alone is worth moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's. I wanted to ask you. So what about like? Do you guys have a lot of friends and family that live in
Yeah,
Toronto with you right now?
very well.
And okay. And so how do you feel about I guess the separation from friends and family that you'll inevitably have to go through by moving so far away?
So we're in Canada, right? We're still going to be in Canada, right?
Hmm.
So if I miss everybody so much, I can still come on holiday in Toronto, right? You know?
Yeah,
So if I'm there, like,
you can still come
yeah,
visit.
if I'm there, then I can just book like 5 days with some of my friends, Then I come over here, spend 5 days with them. Then I go back to my base. So we're still in the same
Hmm.
country. It doesn't kind of like, because when we move to Alberta, right? You're in Edmonton now. We're going to meet new friends, new co-worker. Life goes on. The kids are going to meet
Hmm.
new friends. They grow with them. That's about life. Because when you're moving for
Hmm.
much more comfortable life, then you don't think about all those. Oh, if I leave these friends, you know. Because I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
Very soon, Ontario will be empty for like average income people. I'm telling you, people who
It just won't work,
average
is what you're
income
saying.
people
Yeah.
are struggling. I won't lie to you because what I noticed
And is that mostly because of the new inflation pressures? Like it sounds like you're saying everybody was struggling before, but it's just gotten so
is
much worse because
now
of
yeah.
increased prices.
Then the houses are not affordable. That's what is killing everybody. Imagine you're
Hmm.
living for like 10 years in an rented apartment and you're working so hard. You can't even point to your permanent address. So it
Hmm.
will make people leave. A lot of people have left already. If you look at the ratio of people that moved from Ontario to Alberta from 2020, you'll be alarmed. They moved so much last year, 2021.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of people that came in the last couple of years,
So for you to understand that
for
it's been
sure.
happening, but people have been trying to like, oh, let's just try. Look at it. house I sent to you in London. The house was built 1985. It's a townhouse row, three
Mm-hmm.
bedroom, two toilet. Very old, old kind of townhouse. It was sold like 415.
Yeah.
So I can't.
Yeah, so it's old and still not
You
cheap.
understand?
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I just like to ask those questions because I know that's something that's bouncing around other people's head, and some people are going to struggle with that more than others. Like the thought of leaving other friends and family and moving far away, and it sounds like it became a matter of priorities. Like what's more important, having like actual having time with your
Family, yeah.
family and being able to get ahead financially, have a better house that suits your needs, or friends and family, and obviously all those other things trumped that. I still think it's something that some people would really
Yeah.
struggle with, and might be something that would prevent some people from moving, maybe until they get to their limit in a way where they just can't handle it anymore. Or maybe they haven't looked into it to see, how much better it could be if they relocated to somewhere more affordable.
The
Um,
best.
so what would you recommend? Go
Yeah, the
ahead. Go
first
ahead.
thing I notice about a lot of people is that people that are willing to buy a house, they have not done the research outside Ontario. Just like myself,
Mm-hmm.
I've been looking to buy a house for like 2 years now. So I've never had that information
Mm-hmm.
until 3 months ago. I've been, my mind has been
Interesting.
stuck to like, oh, Ontario. I don't mind going further to London. Oh, 3 hours away, Kingston, as long as it's cheap for me. Some people from Toronto, they move to Sudbury to get something cheaper. When I say something cheaper, it's still like
Mm-hmm.
600, 650.
It's yeah, it's still
You understand what
expensive.
I mean?
Yeah, and I'm glad you
So
mentioned
by the
that.
time they,
Most people, I would
yeah,
imagine, yeah, they start with looking in
they
their general vicinity, and then they go a little bit further out from there. They're not as quickly to jump
love
from
it.
like, oh, this whole area is ridiculously
Like,
expensive. Let's
you
fly
understand what
over
I'm
here
saying?
and look
So
over here.
by the
So,
time I got
yeah,
the information
yeah,
about Alberta, then I went fully in. Then I start checking the houses and the prices. Then I'm like, wow, where have I been all this while? What have I not been looking towards this area, right? So when I saw
mm-hmm.
the prices, that alone, the prices and the size of the house, then how cool the areas are, right? It just triggered me like, no, come on, it's time. So I believe when people start,
Yeah. So it almost seems like as soon as you looked at that and had enough
it
information, it
was
was
easy for me.
obvious to you
The
that the
decision
value
was
was
easy to
there.
make
Yeah.
because it's all about like my kind of like my well-being, like the family well-being, how to improve the family way of life. It's just there waiting for you. So all you need to do is do your research, check all the necessary informations you need. Anything you feel, oh, you need to further check, go ahead. But I can guarantee anyone that I've done way the research I did was just, like the person that introduced me to Alberta, when I call her and start telling her, oh, look at this, she was like, oh, I'm way ahead of her now. And she told me, I said, yeah, I know you told me, but you helped me made up my mind easily because I seen all the things I need. So it's very important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what resources do you think would be best for people that are earlier on in their journey right now and they're trying to learn about moving to Alberta, or Edmonton, or maybe another province as well? Like, what were some of the best resources you found for getting educated and working through some of the things we've
Yeah,
already talked about?
the first thing I did was go online, right? Usually go on Google, then I put Alberta, then I started checking on the departments in Alberta, what they do in terms of like their driver's license, health coverage. So the total
Mm,
website of the
okay.
government of Alberta, it will help you kind of like, okay, have the idea of what the province is all about. When you move with the kids, when you move as a single
Mm-hmm.
person, you all have your information there. So when I did that, then I'm like, okay, what am
Yeah.
I going to do about buying? I can't be going up and down in terms of, oh, wanting to go check a house. This. Okay, what am I going to do? Then I went on YouTube. So yeah. So when I
YouTube.
went on
Okay.
YouTube, then I started checking videos, right? Then I got your video. Then when I watched through like almost six of your videos, then I could see the consistency of like the way you explain, So I was able to follow step one, step two, how you take the decision, how to look at the house, if you're not comfortable with what you see, how you check areas. So I will advise everybody, if they get in touch with you, they're not going to regret it. It makes it kind of like where it gives me this edge of like, okay, I'm like 4 or 5 months ahead of what I need to do, right? Because already I know what I'm going to do in February, I know what I'm going to
Mm,
do in March, then I know when I'm coming over. So it really helped. So I will advise anybody that is seeing
it
anybody
helps.
that is seeing
Yeah.
this video should kind of like contact you, then you kind of like explain more better to them. So it's really, that's the best resource. I won't lie to you.
All that. Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. And it is kind of crazy because there's a lot of hesitancy sometimes for people to reach out initially because they don't feel like they're ready yet, or it feels so far away. But time and time again, when people do finally reach out to me, they're always usually very thankful, even from just talking to me one time on the phone, because I'm able to give them the specific information they need that'll help them move forward in their process. So it's great to hear that I cut your timeline down by 3 or 4 or 5 months, or whatever it is that you said, just because
Yeah,
I've got the experience working as a realtor here in Edmonton, and I can listen to your story and what you're going through and help you get those missing pieces
yeah.
faster than you otherwise could have. So, but I really appreciate you saying
You're
that. I'm
welcome.
glad that you got value out of the YouTube channel to begin with, and a lot of other people are too, and it's just been great. And thank you for coming on and letting me interview you about your process of moving from Toronto to Edmonton. And maybe we'll have to do another follow-up episode after you've bought your house,
But
and I'm
yeah,
sure we'll have more to
yeah,
talk
we're
about.
gonna do that. We're gonna do that. I'm gonna do a special video
Yeah,
when
and
I get to the house and ask you put it in so that they see me that it's easy to move. Just make up your mind. You're gonna be saving a whole lot. I won't lie to you. You're going to be saving a whole lot. Whichever job you're doing presently, go online, go to the job sites, check about your job. You see so many employment offers. You see so many. So just do your research. Then sky is the limit for you.
that's good advice, and I know I learned a lot from talking to you today too. I had my own ideas about what are some of the things that people would have to work through, and from asking you the questions, I was able to discover a whole bunch of other aspects of it that lit my brain up and made me think of some other avenues that I could use for future videos to help people with some of the things that they're looking at. Even you just mentioning that you started looking at the Alberta website to learn,
Yeah,
what government services are there and that kind of thing. I
yeah.
hadn't even quite thought of that as something that people
Oh,
would look into, but it totally makes sense after you said that. So I appreciate you coming on, Toy, and we'll definitely have to do a follow up episode. I'm looking forward to meeting you when you come down in a few months to
yes.
to cold Edmonton
Yeah,
and brave the cold, and we'll find you a good place. I'm looking forward
yeah.
to it.
Will do. Thank you so much. I appreciate you also. Thank you.
Awesome, Toy. Well,
All right.
for anybody that's watching, hope you like this video. Make sure to leave us a comment and like and subscribe, and we'll make sure to make more episodes like this. And we'll see you
All
on the
right.
next one.
All right. Take care. Bye, everyone.